Now loading.
Now loading N. Heading back through the Lycanthrope's castle. Not going to be quite as gory, but thankfully the most ridiculous parts of it are, not toned down, but they're still present. It's something at least.
Well, we're gonna let a whole bunch of purple magic into the atmosphere at least.
Yeah,
Wait.
mixed in with the already stormy weather that Wolf summons halfway through the chapter.
Purple magic. I just got it. Sigma 2 is some kind of induced fever dream from something. I'm not sure what yet.
Maybe that would explain why Ryu's eyes are so unnaturally green. And the pupils are so tiny.
Watching that cutscene again, I don't know how I would have thought, anything other than I should go up there.
Yeah, when you look at it at the cutscene again and realize in hindsight, that does make it pretty clear where you're supposed to go. But yeah, we're doing the whole platforming check again, although in this version, credit where credit is due, however small and insignificant it is, there are, pseudo checkpoints during this little platforming run where we get to certain points and then, parts of the platform will drop off to reveal, two pillars or walls that if you fall down, you can go to those and then, flying bird flip your way back up instead of having to start all over again at the beginning.
The anticipation's killing me. Good choice.
Yeah. Although, if I'm being perfectly honest, that, this upgrade station could very easily have been skipped. And the reason for it is because I mentioned this all the way back in Chapter 2 of Sigma 2, but, the way that all of these, Blue Lantern Muramasa shops are spread out are designed in such a way that, if you cannot, is that you basically cannot, upgrade all of the weapons you acquire in this game to their max level. And the reason I upgraded the dual swords instead of anything else is because they are the second weapon in this game that, for story reasons, get boosted to level 4. Similar to the True Dragon Sword.
Huh. Do they only get boosted to level 4 if you have them at level 3?
They don't. It's, again, for story reasons, it bypasses it entirely.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, the reason I basically went for upgrading the swords to level 2 is because there would be no, reason for me to, upgrade, any of my other weapons, except maybe the Dragon Sword. Because, again, for story reasons, that's going to eventually become the True Dragon Sword.
Naturally.
But yeah, when all is said and done, once we get to the final Blue Lantern shop way later in the game, it's basically gonna end up as the Dragon Sword and Dual Blades will get their upgrades, be fully upgraded, but then there will be at least one other weapon that will be stuck forever at level 2 while the rest are at 3, if you space out your upgrades properly.
Kind of curious to see where the Endless Bang goes at the end. Or was that one already level 3? I don't remember.
No, we don't have access to level 3 yet. It's literally at the halfway point that you're able to actually upgrade them.
Okay, I didn't realize you couldn't take them to level 3 yet.
Yeah.
So that upgrade system's even more restrictive than I had thought.
Pretty much. Restrictive for no good reason.
No, it's just no fun allowed. I am loving all of these close-up shots we're getting of the ghost fish.
Yeah. Get to see their fucking bony faces and everything.
They're They look happy.
I mean, they're so happy because, oh, finally some fresh meat.
Yeah, I can't imagine there's a whole lot to be sad about as a ghost fish.
Yeah, I mean, like, and the best part is that, like, there is literally no boundaries to stop you from getting to your food. Like, the concept of walls and, like, physical objects, like, mean nothing when you can pass through because you're a fucking ghost.
I know what I want to be when I grow up.
I want to be the biggest ghost fish of all.
Exactly. Can hang with all these skelascorpions. Scalopians.
Skelascorpions.
Scorpion. No, that's the same.
This is starting to fall apart.
Yeah. That's what he's high on for this fever dream. Devil mushrooms.
Yes.
Devil's Way mush. That was perfect. It was just staring me in the face the whole time.
I mean, he's already got herbs and everything. I mean, like, it's very... Like, he has moved on from using elixirs at this point. He's fully, like, bought into this whole herbal mentality for medicine. Like, fuck magic and alchemy or whatever process. It's like, nah, man, just grow this shit and it'll be fine.
He has evolved from, I guess, ancient medicines to holistic treatments.
Yeah, holistic. That's actually the word I was looking for. At least with this encounter right here, there's still sparing no expense when it comes to spawning these skelascorpions. So you can still get hit combos past 100 like here.
Man, this just seems endless.
Yeah. I mean, it only goes for about as long as it did, like, in the original game. And there you go, breaking 200. Never saw that in Ninja Gaiden 1, did ya?
No, I really didn't think we'd break 200 either. Like, I figured it was going to stop at, like, 197 or something.
Nah. But yeah, now we're getting ready for the good old drunken skeleton fight. A fight where Sigma 2's credits very conveniently decided not to credit its true creator. Because of course they would, since he was no longer at the company. I want to say that, like, it's not just like this scene, especially with the shot where you saw the drunken skeleton coming up over the hill, but there's like quite a few shots, like in this chapter alone, and even in the original game, where the camera does something with perspective that tries to make, like, these bosses look way bigger than they probably actually are, even though they're standing quite a distance away from Ryu. Like, it's the fucking inverse of how perspective actually works. I mean, like, once we get to, like, the scenes where Wolf is standing in front of Ryu again, like, you'll know for sure. Like, I definitely felt like that weirdness a couple times.
Seems like he's moving slower, too.
Here's something that's, well, that's something that I was hoping would work, but his fucking fat-ass head was blocking the way, but... Like, you know, anything that can hit the core will do its intended damage.
Huh.
Including an Art of the Piercing Void into his core.
Just shove a black hole in his heart and see what happens.
Yeah. It wasn't technically an instant kill. Like, I'm pretty sure you can't do it from full health, or at least close to full health. But, like, yeah, like, I was surprised the first time when I realized that it did that much damage, and I only did it, like, out of curiosity, like, right during the recording of this fight. Like, the first Piercing Void I shot out was just more out of curiosity, but then I realized, well, what if I was supposed to do it when he's on his ass? And then you saw the result. it kind of makes up for that fight being a potential slog like every other fight in Sigma 2 because everyone's defenses is so jacked.
I mean, you did that was at least half his health.
Yeah. Now Sigma 2 gives us our Kusarigama, and this is the part that's actually like kind of upsetting. Is that if they had given us the Kusarigama like way earlier, like say at the start of this chapter, we could have used that like right at the beginning, no problem. Like, and especially with my kind of how I try and play through this game, which is like spreading and distributing my weapon upgrades as evenly as possible. Like, that would have been a much better time to get the Kusarigama. And that's even taken into account that as soon as we get up top into the castle proper, there is yet another Blue Lantern Muramasa shop. And that's basically, if I recall, that's pretty much what we're going to be, like, using that Kusarigama for, is immediately upgrading it.
Well, I was going to say, if they'd have given it to you just slightly earlier, you wouldn't have necessarily felt like you were wasting that other upgrade on something that's just going to upgrade itself later anyway.
Exactly.
But if they're going to give you another one right here, it's not as awful, I guess.
It really is hard to tell at times just how much certain design decisions for this game were intended or were just out of, like, laziness. Also, there's a little wooden bridge there because I guess some playtesters thought that, like, trying to jump that gap was, like, too hard, even though it really isn't. I mean, it's a very close jump, you know? Like, it's a very exact gap between the two platforms, but it is totally doable, and, like, you know, Ryu can grab ledges. It's not out of his expertise.
What is down there anyway?
That item?
Yeah, because you couldn't get it in regular or 2 as well.
I know actually, I think I remember what it is. That's actually where one of the crystal skulls are, like the replacement for the golden scarabs that are like they're collectibles that basically are like their system level kind of items that once you pick them up, they are collected for good.
I gotcha.
This stormy effect going on is certainly nicer looking than it was in the original, obviously more detailed.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. It looks more like a storm and less like a big fart cloud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you could still kind of, like, recognize it as being kind of a fart cloud.
Yeah.
It's just a fart cloud that's now running at 720p native. So now we're getting to parts that are going to introduce some enemies that I struggle to call them new, because while their stuff could be considered, you know, like the enemies we're fighting could certainly be considered new for Ninja Gaiden 2, but as you'll find out, they are very deliberate throwbacks because Team Ninja, you know, post Itagaki Team Ninja decided it would be much cheaper just to pull old assets and reuse them, just rejigger them for this engine.
Yeah, they learned from Capcom. Wait, how old are we talking? First game?
From this series, from like the immediately like preceding game.
Oh.
It's these guys. The Lesser Imp Fiends.
I was hoping you meant from the first game and not like the first chapter of this game.
Nope. It is totally the Imp Fiends from Ninja Gaiden 1.
He's stuck upstairs.
Yeah, that kind of threw off my groove there for a bit. But yeah, and you see them, how they move, how they fight. It is literally like 1-to-1 to how they were in the original Ninja Gaiden. There are some things that are like changed about them. I mean, they still have the ability to burrow underground and all that. And like their grab moves obviously have like dedicated camera angles for them. But, you know, since this is the Ninja Gaiden 2 engine, they are able to have their limbs removed. And they are also one of the few enemy types in the game that share a common behavior with the ninjas. And that's if they are losing a limb, that means they are also likely to do a kamikaze attack on you. So yeah, there is some reason why it could be possibly considered new, because, you know, they have new stuff added to them, but it is very, very minor.
I actually kind of hope that they have more throwback fiends, I guess. Oh, I don't know, because they were... The first game very, very much so had kind of, like, a bit of a fiend theme going, where, like, each of the greater fiends in the first game had their... It seemed like they had their own, like, lesser fiends that tended to show up in their levels more often than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, them kind of being included in here kind of goes against that a bit, but...
Yeah,
I mean,
that's basically my main point, because, you know, like, this game talks about, like, in its cutscenes, how Ryu's ultimate goal is that he needs to, like, prevent the Archfiend from being resurrected by the Greater Fiends. You know, like, Archfiend, obviously, like, they don't give any specifics about who it is, other than he is the big bad and is, like, probably the closest analog to Satan. What the cutscenes don't tell you, but the, like, in-game, like, files and journals you pick up reveal, is that Archfiend isn't his given name. Archfiend is a class. And, you know, like, this particular Archfiend that we're trying to stop is named Vazda. And we've actually destroyed another Archfiend already in this series. And do you want to take a guess who that might be?
The statue thing from the first game? Vigor? The Holy Vigor Emperor?
Yes, Vigor was an Archfiend, and as such, because he was, you know, he was that ruler of, like, the Holy Vigor Empire and all that, like, the fiends from there, you know, the imps, the galas, all that, they were under his domain. Whereas, which is, like, kind of, as you brought up, the reason why I'm kind of not as hot on those imps returning is because there's literally no reason for them to be in this game, because their master's already dead. Unless they were able to give, like, a decent lore explanation for, like, the Greater Fiends, like, assuming them under their command now that there was, like, a power vacuum. It's still, just having it be there for the sake of it doesn't do anything.
Yeah, that was a cheap shot.
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's the explanation that they were going with, since the Vigor Emperor was killed now.
Yeah.
That his fiends are just kind of, I guess, kind of up for grabs would be a way to put it.
Yeah. Although the next chapter of Sigma 2, which is another one of those Sigma exclusive playable characters, that actually has yet another throwback. Not enemy per se, but a throwback boss, which could possibly explain why these imp fiends are still running around. But not when we are directly in the territory of Wolf, a fiend whose minions are explicitly werewolves. These things aren't werewolves. What business would they have siding with the fucking crossbreed of a Shokan and a werewolf?
That is a very good question, actually.
Yeah. I don't know, it's so weird, and it actually makes me, like, in hindsight, dislike their inclusion even more, because after the controversy that was made about how bad Ninja Gaiden 3 was, and when they were making Razor's Edge to try and fix it, another thing they tried to do to fix it was to bring back enemies from Ninja Gaiden 1 and Ninja Gaiden 2, when they had, like, no story, reason, or purpose for being there, just because they had it on hand and figured, well, people like these, so yeah, I guess this is better than whatever shit we came up with.
Yeah, I'd call it an Easter egg if there was, like, maybe just kind of one of them tucked away somewhere.
Or if the overall game was just more competently designed. Like,
Yeah,
there,
true.
there needs to be, like, a better overall intention from those devs before they can even consider throwing, like, these classic enemies and features in the game. Because otherwise, it basically leads to a situation where it's like, they're, like, Hayashi and, like, Ko are basically the keepers of Ninja Gaiden now. Itagaki no longer gets to have any ownership over it. He made his contributions, you know, him and like the people that were there with him. But, you know, Ninja Gaiden's not gonna go anywhere especially when they decide to make a fourth game, if they start like having you fight these same imps again. You know?
Yeah.
It needs to be new. It needs to be fresh. And not only does it need to be fresh, but it needs to be good and well-intentioned. That was the problem with Ninja Gaiden 3. It was stuff that was technically new, but it was incredibly misguided stuff that missed the point of what Ninja Gaiden should be. That's the important part.
And what Ninja Gaiden was up until that point. That was the one that had like the stealth quote-unquote sections, yeah?
Yeah, although I would barely constitute like the stealth bits as being like a prevalent feature. It was more just like a 1 or 2 level gimmick. If anything, it'd be better to like describe Ninja Gaiden 3 as the game that was trying to be a bad God of War knockoff.
Yeah, I guess I'm happy I didn't play much of it then.
Yeah, you're more fortunate than I was. I jumped into that thing blind and could not stomach it past chapter 2.
Well, here's a better question then. Bad God of War knockoff, as much as it may have been, how would it compare to, like, say, other games that are considered bad God of War knockoffs, like Dante's Inferno or something like that?
I'd probably put Dante's Inferno above it.
Okay, I am avoiding the hell out of that.
Yeah. I mean, like, parts of, like, why I absolutely despise Ninja Gaiden 3 the way that I do is because of a whole lot of... You know, a lot of it is because it is specifically called Ninja Gaiden 3 and is using the Ninja Gaiden characters and setting. You know, it's not like Ninja Theory's DMC where it was basically a Devil May Cry in name only. You know, it didn't have that luxury. But I mean, like, it was basically just trying to dumb down the difficulty, make it super button mashy. Levels were like not only like way more linear than they are in Ninja Gaiden 2, but they were especially dull and heavily scripted for no real good reason. And then of course there's the fact that like the story was like dreadful. I mean, like, that's not surprising to say, considering that most stories in action games could be pretty terrible, but I think I can like say pretty clearly that the way Ryu's character was handled in that was a character assassination on the level of Samus in Other M.
That is hard.
That is damning for sure.
I think I'm gonna focus my attention back on the hallway that you did not drag all of the enemies through this time.
Yeah.
And how we get to see everything in a smooth frame rate before somebody starts to, or before somebody in the thread decides to start a collection basket to bribe you to LP and Ninja Gaiden 3.
Oh, there are already people that are probably going to be like trying to do that anyway, and it doesn't help the fact that I just keep saying no, because they won't stop. It's kind of my own doing, but whatever.
Yeah. Oh, there's 2 different colors of beans now, as well.
Yeah, but it's
all the black ones.
Yeah, but it's similar, you know, to the purple and black Vangelves, where the only difference is one is more resilient than the other, and there's no actual behavior difference.
Oh.
Yeah, a new weapon, which, again, completely out of order from how it is in Ninja Gaiden 2 of vanilla.
I mean, not that we can upgrade it.
Well, yeah, which makes, like, the placement of the earlier 2 Blue Lantern shops even more infuriating. Like, seriously, we should have gotten this, like, in the area right after the Drunken Skeleton, and the Kusari Gama right at the beginning. And yes, you're seeing these Tonfa in action, but I am still deliberately trying to not say much about them regardless, because I really want to save the good shit for when they show up in Ninja Gaiden 2 proper.
Fair enough. We'll just we'll leave them to
Just
we'll leave them to Killer
just
Instinct for
enjoy
now.
the sound effects and watch the hit counter rise super quickly.
I guess all I'll say on the matter is I have enjoyed Contos ever since the first Killer Instinct game.
Yeah, but although, wait, I don't think orchids.
No, they were lightsabers in the first Killer
Yeah,
Instinct.
they were like fucking nightsticks. Oh yeah, and we got to see the Imp's kamikaze attack. They just hug you and die.
That's a good description.
Makes me even more kind of bummed out that like not every single enemy that can be delimbed has a kamikaze attack. Although I wonder, like, what could a werewolf or Vangelf suicide attack be that isn't just like a magic explosion from their chest?
Yeah, I would say maybe the werewolf could give you like entropy or something, but it's not really a suicide.
Nah, and that
they're
would
not-
probably be like a system that I think would be hard to like flesh out properly in this game as it is.
Maybe something like bees where they sting you and die.
Yeah,
Not the
or like
werewolves.
the like I'm remembering it now because I've been recently playing the Devil May Cry HD collection, and in 3 there's those fucking annoying ass spider enemies that if you kill them in a way where they split down the middle, they release little grubs that latch onto you and will explode unless you like double trigger in order to just burn them off.
I had no idea they were making another HD collection.
Yeah, well,
Like
it was more just like a port of the one that already existed, but like the reason for why I'd say it was a big deal for me is that like DMC HD on PC is a hell of a proposition.
Oh.
Especially when the version of DMC3 that was already on Steam was the old broken ass Ubisoft PC port back from when Capcom tried doing PC ports that were garbage.
I had no idea the new one was ported to PC.
Yeah. So now you get a actual like non-broken version of 3, as well as the ability to play DMC1 on PC. But of course, like those games are frame rate blocked, and as we kind of like talked about like in the previous video and such about frame rates, you know, you try running like DMC1 on like a 144 hertz monitor, you're literally running double speed, and it becomes unplayable.
For whatever reason, when you started to say 144, I expected you to say 144p monitor instead of 144 hertz.
Although there was, I can't remember like where the tweet was from, but it was something that I found pretty hilarious, and it was basically kind of a comparison between like, you know, like normal person's thinking and smart person thinking. Like normal brain basically being like playing, running DMC1 HD on PC at uncapped frame rate is unplayable. And then there's a Galaxy Brain, which is run DMC1 HD on PC, but limit your monitor's frame rate to 72 hertz precisely so you get the 20% speed boost so that you have DMC1 HD turbo mode. And it actually works. The only problem, from what I've heard, is that it also affects the cutscenes, and the cutscenes will go out of sync if you do that.
Oh.
But there was like a little webm or video that like the person like who made the tweet made, and you see DMC1 running 20% faster, and it looks like way more closer and consistent to how the modern DMC games are actually played.
What? It's a terrible treasure.
Ghostfish. Yeah. You didn't think they were just gonna abandon that idea of Ghostfish in chests behind, did you?
It had been long enough since I've seen it pop up that I completely forgot about it. So, good show on that one, at least, Sigma devs.
Yep.
にもかかわらず単身ここへ至るは称賛に値する。
this Japanese VA still does a good job. And here's what I was talking about, that shot. Look how much bigger Wolf looks in perspective compared to Ryu.
Yeah. That's
jacked up. Like, that's not right. That's not how eyes work.
he's not that much bigger.
No. I mean, if that perspective was true, he probably would have had his head touching the fucking ceiling.
And he also wouldn't have gotten out that door.
Yeah. Unless the door was his size.
Well, it's not as goofy as
Yeah.
the other Wolf, the English Wolf is, but at least the Japanese Wolf sounds, at least somewhat intimidating.
Yeah. They both have the same, like, voice filter effect overlaid to make it sound extra booming, which is, like, a defining factor of Wolf's character. His voice is always, by default, loud and carries a long distance.
With all of the subjects that he has, it's no real wonder why he needs to have that voice.
Yeah.
Also, the size of his castle. Holy shit.
And look, the trapdoor opens automatically, although I find, like, where that werewolf landed was kind of hilarious, because if you did not think to hold the right trigger to focus the camera on there, it probably would have been very hard to see the opening, because it was right on top of it.
With his dying breath, he tried to prevent Ryu's advancement.
Escape.
Yes, escape, thank you. That looked really awesome, and I don't think if I've seen it before, I'd never noticed the Zeta drop with the Endless Fang.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Like, it is definitely one thing about it that I do appreciate. You know, I'm totally fine with majority of weapons getting an Izuna drop variant, because it totally deserves it. But now we're on our way over to the Colosseum.
Oh.
We don't have to fight the annoyingly huge bats before we can proceed, thankfully.
Yeah, that is kind of nice.
Yeah, see, Sigma 2 can clean up some of the annoying stuff from the previous game. It just can't do it without fucking up everything else in the process. At least the stands are still filled with thousands of those fucking hairy bastards. It would be a disappointing cutscene otherwise if they, for processing purposes, had to cut it down to a 10.
Huh? I didn't know Japanese rolled its R's like that. Not that I'm very good with language.
Well, I mean, L's and R's are, like, pretty interchangeable as it is.
Vorf the Invincible.
Yes, Vorf, that's his name now. And here's jacked up perspective shot. Oh, I guess it wasn't actually it wasn't as jacked up as I was remembering it. Not compared to the scene in the throne room.
No.
But yeah, now we're taking big weapon against big weapon. And guess what? Even in Sigma 2, with like the change to damage and defenses, Wolf is still a massive pushover. Though I'm still terrible at getting around his grab attacks. And like, as you've probably seen with like me spamming my Nimpo, is that because I had done the Drunken Skeleton fight in this same recording, I was curious to see if I could get similar effects with the Piercing Void, but I was not being given any reason. Hence my almost getting fucking killed for it.
That was so close.
Yeah. Although I guess that there is one like difference you could like point to with this fight compared to the original is that I'm pretty sure that Volp's windup for when he does his grab attack is like made, you know, longer and more apparent.
Kind of nice. It's always good to give the player the advantage on stuff like that.
And he's down once again. Thankfully, Sigma 2 realized how important this moment was that they did not withhold the scythe from us past this point or give it to us sooner.
Thank
They
God, I
made
was
sure-
waiting for that.
Yeah. They made sure to save this moment, but of course, it's Sigma 2, so we're not going to be getting the same, like, amount of crowds, obviously.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that they take the scythe back away from us after the fight.
No, that'd be a real dig move, but no, I was just saying that, like, yeah, it's still Sigma 2, so the enemy crowds are still sparse in comparison. And the werewolves do not throw the jib pieces of their comrades at you in this version. But the
Shame.
ultimate technique still murders everything. And this is the weapon at level 1, by the way. It is an immediately better feeling heavy weapon than the Enmus Fang is. And like I say that while still having some amount of appreciation for what the Enmus Fang has. But the Scythe is just so much better in every way. Like, they were right to make that the single heavy weapon of Ninja Gaiden 2.
Is it just me, or are there less werewolves in the stands?
Yeah, there were definitely less. And of course, no blood or... Yeah, and that werewolf did not get cut open at the midsection. But that's it for the chapter. You know, it's same Sigma shit as always, but... I don't know, most of the cool stuff is intact.
Yeah. Like a budget version of the regular Ninja Gaiden 2.